During the short break that we had, I received an email. In fact, a number of emails. I get them all the time now from different parts of this planet, different countries. One email I got during this break was with reference to this song. So I said, appropriate that this song be sung again so I can deal with that email. The email said, in this song, it says, whatever you ask from a master, he will give it to you. And in one of the elaborations I gave in an earlier talk, I said, the song says, whatever you ask, the master will give you. It does not say whatever your mind asks, he will give you. In fact, very often, he will not give what the mind wants. Therefore, the email that has just come to me says, how do you distinguish between what the soul is asking and what the mind is asking? I thought this was a subject of common interest to all of us. So I'm going to share with you how to distinguish between what the soul wants and what the mind wants. Actually, the answer is very simple. The mind operates in time and space. The mind functions through thinking. So when you think and ask anything, it's the mind wanting. When you do not think and spontaneously, inwardly, from a gut feeling, from intuitive feeling, from a feeling with no time and space, something comes to you and you want it. That's the soul asking. The soul functions without time and space even while we are confined to this body. When we have an experience of an intuitive knowledge, something we say, we just know. We don't know how. We don't know how it came. It just came. It's the knowledge of the soul. When we say, I can think about it, that is what it is, we reason out, that's the mind. So the two functions happen to be different because of the parameters in which they work. This function of the mind always takes place in time and space. Even the shortest thought takes time, and therefore it's mental. When no time is taken, it is the soul. Love is a factor, love is an experience that never takes time. It occurs at once. Then, of course, to think about it, the mind takes over and begins to think, what happened? Is this true? Is this real? Will it last? And so on. But the actual occurrence of an experience of love is very timeless, therefore comes from the soul. The mind by thinking cannot make up an experience of love. It can comment upon it, it can make observations on it in language, but it cannot create it. The soul creates the experience of love. Similarly, the sense of beauty, a sudden feeling of beauty that is so beautiful, it never comes by thinking about how beautiful it is. It just strikes you with no time as something is beautiful. Then the mind begins to take over and comment upon it, why it's beautiful. And if you allow the mind to comment too long on something that looks beautiful, it no longer looks beautiful. The mind is not capable of creating beauty. It creates a commentary on beauty, sometimes even a destruction of beauty. The mind does not create love. It comments upon love, and sometimes, by too much thinking, destroys love itself. So you will find that the mind very often, which is a very constructive thing given to us, the power of thinking, acts negatively and negates a direct experience of the soul. And that is why this song by Guru Arjan Dev, the fifth Sikh Guru, and recorded in the Guru Granth Sahib, their holy book, talks of what you want, what the soul wants, Guru will give you, no matter what. So this distinction that the mind operates through time and thinking, and the soul operates spontaneously without thinking, if you keep it in mind, you will always know what your soul wants and what your mind wants. I have another email received this afternoon which says, what is the significance of a master placing his hand on your head? That again is reference to the same song, because in this song it says, the one who is spread out with his power all over the 9 universes, if he grants his blessings to you by placing his hand on your head, imagine what blessing and power it is. How does it refer to a person whose power comes from 9 universes? What are those 9 universes? They are the universe of the physical world here, in which he knows everything about the physical world. It's the astral world, the causal world, the 4th region, the 5th region. These are 5 plus physical, 6 plus 3 that is described even above Sachkhand, our true home. Alak, Agam, Anami. What are those regions? Those are not regions traversed by the soul. That is why they are not very often mentioned in our description of what is the journey back home. There's a journey back home stops at Sachkhand, our true home, where we merge in totality, where we become one with the Creator. Then what can be beyond being one with the Creator? So the 3 regions described above that, which were first described in such great detail by Swamiji of Agra, then later on by his disciple Rai Saligram, and now still quoted, are the regions of Alak. Alak means there is no way to lakhya it or describe it. Agam, imagine what cannot be described at all is a region. Agam, what cannot be known. You can't even know it. What kind of region would it be that you can't even know it? And the final 9th region would be Anami, which cannot even be named. You can't even say what it is. So those regions are regions from where the totality of consciousness draws its power and uses those models for creating all the universes right below. Those regions are not traversed by individuated soul. Those regions are traversed by the totality of consciousness as 3 different ways to create the seeds of all creation below. So that is why it says a perfect living master who is sitting with us, who has traversed the 9 regions, 9 universes, with that power over 9 universes, that man in an ordinary form puts his hand on your head. It's a blessing of great import and very important. In the same song, it says, Kantalai, if he gives you a hug, he destroys the evil things that you did and destroys a lot of your karma, which arose from the perverse things that you had with you, which means it's the very easy and effective way to destroy a lot of your karma. So it's a very rare event also. And do not underestimate the power of an ordinary human being who just touches your head, who just gives you a hug. It's not that simple like any other embrace or any other putting of the hand on the head. So I'm going to give the same reply to these gentlemen who wrote to me from the other side of this universe. And so, other side of this planet, I mean, not the universe, of this small planet. On this small planet. There are many planets too. I might add that we are a very small speck of creation. This planet itself is so small that 1,000,000 planets of like ours can fit into one solar sun that shines on us. The sun is so much bigger. One other planet, Jupiter, is so much bigger than us that it's hard to see us if we sit on Jupiter. But we can see Jupiter. And so we are very small. The galaxies contain so many suns in the form of stars. Those stars are almost all bigger than our sun. Our sun is one of the youngest stars and has existed for much less time than the other stars in the other galaxies. Imagine the size of this universe and how we are sitting in a very small little planet of it. And we think not only the planet is big, we think our land is big, our homes are big, our property is big. I've got a big mansion. I've got a big, huge limousine car. We compare these sizes here in terms of the size of the universe. We are very small specks. And yet, in the very small specks, we carry a small body even smaller than these things we make with our own hands. And in a small body lies the vastness of not only all the galaxies, but all the higher regions that we can traverse. They are compressed and put into a head, into a small space within the head, behind the eyes, above the eyes, that contain all that is created outside and much more. So do not underestimate the wealth that lies inside this physical body. It's immeasurable. Everything that you can ever imagine exists inside the body. Everything that has been experimented upon by the Creator is all in there. Everything that will be experimented upon by the Creator is already there. So you will understand that in the Creator's language, the past and the future are the same. Because He creates the past and the present and the future at the same time, all at once in zero time. And then we are given the opportunity to go on an adventure, get a mind, then the mind spins that total experience into past, present and future. And we think that time is flowing in one direction, and the past is one that's gone, can never come back. Future is something we don't know where it will come, what it is holding, we have no idea. Actually, time is not flowing. We think time is flowing. From the future, events are jumping into the present, we immediately experience them in the now, and they slip into the past. That's how we are experiencing it. That is not true. If you go to a higher level of consciousness and look down upon time, you will find time is static. It's not flowing at all. All the events that can possibly happen or have happened are already painted right on the time. And they're all located right on time. We are time traveling. Our attention is traveling on time, which is static. Our attention moves along the time frame, and the events keep coming up into our experience. And we think time is flowing and we are steady. No, our attention is flowing and creating the events that we experience. So this can only be seen from another point of view, a point of view from where time can be viewed as a creation. Here we can't. In fact, we are so trapped by time. Time is the biggest trap created by the mind. Space is a follow-up of time. Space cannot exist if there is no time. Because space means here and there. If there is no here and there is no space. And here and there cannot take place if it is there from now and then. Therefore, time is the creator of space too. And the space-time continuum creates everything that we are experiencing here. So the big trap is not of thoughts or of the other functions of the mind. The biggest trap is the creation of the time-space continuum by the mind. And that holds us here. We cannot imagine anything beyond it. If we say, okay, let's see time. Once upon a time, time was created. What was there before that? There's no way the mind can imagine a timeless state. The time must have occurred in time. Similarly, space. Let's go to an infinite edge of the space. What is beyond that? The mind cannot think of anything except other emptiness or space. Therefore, the actual truth and reality is beyond the possibility of knowledge of the mind and exists in such a compact way that unless it is spelt out by the mind sitting here in a human body and using a human mind, we cannot understand it. That is why these descriptions that have been given of Sachkhand or our true home or Lakagamanami or even Parbrahm or anything beyond the mind are only stories that have been told to us, a concoction made so that our mind can put in a picture and say, wow, that's better than what we have. It's just an incentive creating device to create a story and a description of something that cannot be described. And that is why masters have been trying to say it cannot be described, but let us describe it to you. Swamiji in Agra would say that in Parbrahm, you cannot describe, but I know there are tall trees there, mile-long trees, laden with rubies and diamonds. And when he would say that, more women would come to his satsang because they loved rubies and diamonds. So when there is no space and time, where are the diamonds and rubies from? But it's just a way of saying it's far more valuable, far more attractive than what you have here. And these are just ways to express things just to satisfy your mind. It is not a description because it cannot be described. It's beyond mental comprehension. So there's a big difficulty in communication about higher experiences, that the higher experiences have to be translated into something that resembles our physical experience. And therefore, all this description that has been given is to teach us something resembling this and yet better. But it doesn't resemble this at all. It cannot resemble. And yet it contains the seed of all creation. The seed of something that cannot be described is the seed that creates all description. It's just like a big oak tree. A big oak tree throws a little seed. The seed is so small. But in the seed, the whole oak tree exists. And the whole oak tree grows from the seed. When seed is planted and waters, the whole oak tree comes out. It does not mean that the seed has to undergo a change to make it an oak tree. The seed contains the oak tree, even when it's such a small seed. The human sperm and ova on meeting create a single cell. It contains the whole human being. And just because it has been embedded with the wisdom of the DNA molecule, which is the wisdom of metabolism and multiplication and creation of forms, it keeps on growing, guided not by anything outside, but guided with its own internal wisdom. In that little cell, a single cell multiplies through the process of metabolic life force and becomes two cells, and then keeps on dividing, subdividing, each cell replicating the cause of the wisdom of the cell, the DNA molecule. Eventually the whole human being comes up, grows up, lives a whole life and dies, all pre-recorded in the DNA molecule. The genome project that is going on today in science is telling us that the whole, not only the whole life of a human being is contained in one cell with one molecule of DNA, but the DNA cell in the brain of a human being contains the entire history of the species. It contains the entire history of who we were before we evolved into this human being, and contains the entire future of life in that cell. This is not metaphysics, this is physics, and this is biology now. This is how they are finding out how things are pre-recorded. Today, a human cell on examination for DNA molecule can even tell us when we will get sick, when we will become a smoker. We thought smoking was a bad habit. How could it be recorded before birth? They have been able to match that those who become smokers, their DNA molecule contains that sequence already. And it also shows at what age they will become smokers. Who could imagine that what we thought was acquiring a bad habit of smoking was predetermined in a little cell? The DNA molecule is a representation and is a reflection of something that exists inside us. It exists in the causal plane. In the causal plane, everything is contained in the records from which we pick up a destiny. And actually the DNA molecule is merely a reflection of what we call the Akashic records or Akashic records, which contain the whole DNA and every history it will contain hereafter. So you will see that the seeds of all experience have been created in timelessness and spacelessness. The seeds are so small that they have no dimension. Yet when they sprout, they create through the mind a time and space sequence, and we see the world as it is. Looks like a tall story. Maybe it is a tall story unless you go within to the causal plane and see it happening. That is why these perfect living masters say, the spiritual path is not a theory, not a philosophy, not a religion, not a ceremony, not a ritual. It's an experiment. It's an experiment into truth of yourself. It's an experience. Sant Mat, or the science of the soul, or the path of the masters, is an experiential adventure, and it's nothing to do with religion or nationality, color of the skin, age of the person. None of these things matter. The spiritual path has been built into us before we were born. It is built into us before our sensory systems were born. It was built into us before our mind was born. It's built into us before our soul was born. It's come from the plan of the totality of consciousness, and that works its way through all these forms we have taken, and we are sitting here today in a form where we are still connected with this whole process of creation. We are sitting in a form with a head, with consciousness, with wakefulness, with awareness that can lead us, track us back to the whole process through which we have been created. If this is not the greatest miracle, show me another one. The greatest miracle, this whole process of the seed sprouting and creating this whole universe for us, all exists pre-recorded right inside our consciousness, right inside our head in a physical body. The physical body is the most wonderful thing I could ever imagine in this created universe. It enables us to find everything we want to find. All the answers to all the questions lie inside us, and we can get them just by going within. But we don't go within. We want to discuss things outside. We want proof of what we are saying. Why don't you go and find the proof inside? Why do you want to discuss it outside? It reminds me of a story great master used to tell. Once upon a time, an intellectual professor was walking in an Indian field, and many fields have wells, and they don't have a parapet wall around them. So sometimes, unless you see there's a well, you can fall into it, especially if you're absent-minded. And they say professors are generally absent-minded. They are so busy with their own thinking. They think too much because they have to teach. They are thinking all the time. And in thinking while that professor was walking, he fell into the well. The well, fortunately for him, was shallow well. He didn't drown in it, but he saw a lot of water around him. And he moaned and groaned, where have I fallen? And a man who was walking outside, he heard the moaning and groaning of somebody who has fallen into the well. He came, he said, don't worry, friend, I will bring a rope, and I'll hand over the rope to you and pull you out. So the man goes to bring a rope, and the professor thinks, how can I trust this guy, that he will pull me out? So when the man lowered the rope, he says, before I catch the rope and come to you, first tell me why I fell in the well. Then you explain to me that you will pull me out. Tell me, why should I believe that if I hold the rope, you will pull me out? How can I say, it might that you might drop me down halfway up? When I'm holding the rope, you'll drop me again. First prove to me that you are going to pull me up. Prove to me. And the man with the rope who's trying to help him says, please, can't you ask all these questions once you are outside? Why you fell into the well? What happened? Don't you think it will be better to first get out of the well? No, I will not catch the rope unless you answer all my questions and prove to me. The rope is real, strong enough to pull me. You have good intentions to pull me. I can believe you and trust you. First prove all these things. Otherwise, why would I hold the rope? He said, all right, stay in the well. I am going. This is our state. Here we are trapped in the well of a physical creation. And here's a physical body of a perfect living master coming as a friend saying, I can take you out, take you back home. First prove that you are competent to do it. First prove there is something outside. First prove, why did I fall in here? That's the kind of proof we are always asking. And we stay in the well. Some people say, we are ready when we get all the answers to our questions. And they question, and they question, and then they die. Then they're born again, next life. And there's an inkling in them. I think we are seekers. We have been seeking all night. But the mind says, first get your answers. First ask for proof. Here is a path, the spiritual path of the perfect living masters. Says it's experiential. The only leap of faith needed is to step and practice and experiment. If it doesn't work, give it up. If it works, you will know the truth. It's not something that we are going to pour into you or pour wisdom into you. It's already there. You just have to go within your own self and find it. It's not something lying outside. And yet, we want to argue, we want to be skeptical. There is nothing wrong in being skeptical. There's nothing wrong in having a doubt. But the doubt can be cleared if somebody says, go see behind the wall what is there, you will know what is there. They say, no, but first I want to guess what is behind the wall and try to explain how do you know what's behind the wall? What are your credentials? And you keep on sitting and arguing when he's saying, look, the pathway to the other side of the wall is right here. Why don't you just go and have a look, have a peep for yourself? No, first you describe. How do you know there is something behind the wall? It's our state. Our mind is really playing such big games with us, and we can't even see it. That the mind is deceiving us, trying to hold us back into its own realm. Because having given the power of consciousness to the mind, and having delegated the power of consciousness to our sense perceptions, and finally having delegated the power to the physical body to function as living things, we have become the slaves of these things. Instead of using things to which we gave power to work, we are following them and not at all using our own innate wisdom with which we came here. The truth is, these are very wonderful things given to us. The mind, a creative mind, a thinking mind, a machine that can think so fast, a machine that can create the experience of past, present, and future, a machine that can create time and space. What could be more wonderful than that? It's been given to us so we can use thinking, communicate. Thinking, write. Thinking, do everything else required in communication. A wonderful machine. Think creatively. Think new ideas. Even think your way back to where you should go. Such a wonderful machine. And what have we done? We don't give the instruction to the machine. There's no input. We're trying to get everything out from the machine. Machine tell us what we should do. Mind tell us what we should do. We are being dictated to by a machine that is given for our advantage, for our use. And the mind is not telling us what to do all the time. Naturally, if you empower a machine with so much power and say, my intelligence is now your artificial intelligence, you use it, and you become a slave of the machine will try to hold you in sway all the time, because that's its lifeline. You have given it life, it will try to survive. Every living thing tries to survive, the mind tries to survive. You give it a life, it has no life of its own. The life given to a mind is given by the soul. Soul is the only conscious power that can make the mind start thinking. Soul is the only conscious power that can make the senses work. Soul is the only conscious power that can make a body alive, physical body, and make it run around and do things that it does. And yet, we being the soul, having empowered the mind, the senses, and the body, have become slaves of these three. What has happened to us? We should just look at it and say, I must regain my power back because I'm not being given good service by these servants of mine. I was given some servants to serve me, and I have started serving them. It's time to reverse this. I should take control. I will tell the mind what to think. I will tell the mind what to imagine. I will tell the senses what to observe and not to observe. I will tell the body what to do. Let me take back my control because I am the one that gave it all the power. We should be able to think the truthful fact like this. And if we do that, if we take control and we are able to tell the mind what to do, it doesn't mean we don't use the mind. We are not running away from the mind. We are not running away from thinking. We are using it. Right now, we are being used by thoughts and by the mind. So this revelation that comes to us with the help of a perfect living master really starts reversing our role, and we start getting in control of the things that were given to us. These are so beautiful gifts given to us by your Creator. The gift of the mind, the gift of the body, gift of sensory perceptions which make the whole world alive. And instead of using them, we are being used by them. So it's good to know this basic fact that we are not these covers. We are the soul. These are covers given to us. They are very valuable. They are very good. Use them. Use them for adventure and fun. Don't use them for getting pain and disappointments for yourself. Don't use them for saying, oh, I've lost something. You never had it. Don't say, oh, I broke off a relationship. It never was there. You created, predetermined to break it, to see what real love is. The whole thing was done in a very different way, for a different purpose. And now we are moaning and groaning over something which we ourselves are doing because we have become slaves of things that were supposed to serve us. So let's reverse this process. And you'll see this reversal can start even with the help of the intellect. It can start even with the help of the absorption of the truth, by whatever we have in the physical body, without ever stepping inside. Let's start from there. If you find it difficult, start from there and see the effects of it. You'll see immediately when the role is changed and you are in control, life will change. And your impact on life and life's impact on you will change. So I would like to open this floor to questions and answers. But I want to say, I visited London recently. And it was a very beautiful experience, the love and devotion of people I had never seen. And all of them had seen me, and I had never seen them. How can that be? Electronics, YouTube. So they knew me electronically, and I knew them physically only on this visit. But I was very happy to see them. And then one man in that audience came from Mauritius. He actually came from Reunion Island, which is just next to, it's a French island, next to Mauritius. He came and he carried a song on a DVD or a CD with him, which was a song in Indian language or Pakistani language, in Urdu and a certain type of Punjabi spoken in Pakistan. He didn't know what it meant. So he gave it to the hostess of our London visit, a girl named Anju. And she played it out and said, this is meant for Ishwar Puri, sent it to him. So after I had returned from London, she sent the song to me. And such a beautiful song that I couldn't believe that such a song existed and a man was carrying it without knowing what he's carrying. He was carrying a wealth of information with him in the form of a CD and didn't know what it contained. And then I thought, that's how we carry our wealth. That song's title is, it's on YouTube. The song's title is It Nahi Ta Kith Nahi, which means if it is not here, it is nowhere. That title of the song. And the whole song says, if it is not here, it's nowhere. Who is speaking? The song says, who is speaking? Whose voice is it that's coming out? If it is not here, in that voice, it's nowhere else. It is a description of the reality being within the self, sung in such a beautiful voice. I thought, if we have time, we might play a little bit of it. How many of you would like to hear the song? Mark, can it be put on so that they can all hear the voice? It's a short song, but the theme is, Ith nahi to kith nahi. If you are not here, you are nowhere. In strict Punjabi, it would be ethe nahi to kithe nahi. But it says in Multani language, is spoken in Pakistan, in Multan, Lailpur. So, ith nahi to kith nahi.
Ah तेरा क्या कहना, तू सनम भी है, तू खुदा भी है, तेरा क्या कहना, क्या कहना। इतने ही थे कितने इतने ही थे कितने ही इहो कौन प्यार बोलेदा बोलेदा बोलेदा। इतने ही थे कितने ही कंजरी वाली वाली कंजरी वाली सूरत बन के बन के बन के कंजरी कंजरी वाली सूरत बन के सचल नाम सदेदा 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 सदेदा। इतने ही थे कितने जी। इतने ही तो इतने ही इतने ही तो कितने ही इतने ही तो कितने ही
ith nahi, the kith nahi. If you're not here, you're nowhere. The only place where the Creator resides, where God resides, is where we reside in our head. He's nowhere outside. All things outside are our creation. All things are created by illusion. The reality sits inside us, right inside, so much inside. They're not only inside the body, not inside the senses, not inside the mind, right in the center of our own consciousness, life force. If you are not there, you're nowhere. So go there to find, which means don't go anywhere. Let me stop going. People say, how do we go on a spiritual journey? The answer is, don't go. Stop going. You're going too much. You're running with your mind all over. Stop running. Just get back to where you were, and you'll find the truth where you are, and who you are, and who is God. You'll find everything. Any questions for a few minutes that we have? I notice there are no questions. There are two reasons for no questions. One, they all understood what I said. Second, it all went over their heads. Anyway, I'm very happy you came over to meet today. I hope we'll see you again.